Oh, and actually another question kind of resulting to that. Where did you get the idea for the soup thing? I forgot what the soup was called. Like alphabet something with the...
Oh, where she left in, yeah. Well, so where she leaves in like the letters M, I, S, and P to represent that she's going to Mississippi.
And then another thing, how do you like leave the letters? It's kind of like you're searching through your bowl of soup. It's like, oh, there's an M, put it off to the side.
Well, if you've seen alphabet soup, you can kind of pick around. You know, you got all the letters there, so you just sort of make sure you leave an M, and then you sort of pick around as you spoon it out. But I think you know, the idea of that was that, you know, she's working really hard to like leave behind these clever clues, and it's really frustrating that no one will pay attention. And I don't know if you guys have experienced that, but I definitely have, where I feel like I've kind of worked really hard on something, and like
no one pays attention.
Yeah, and like no one like
something else is better.
Yeah, like no one even notices that you did this really elaborate thing to try to interest them. And so she's sort of perennially disappointed because every time she does one of these elaborate things, like leaving the M and the I and the S and the P to represent that she's in Mississippi, and then leaving like various other clues so they can know where she is in Mississippi. And so like her parents, if they worked hard, they could track her down, but they don't work hard. And then she just kind of like comes back and she's like, thanks for trying, jerks. But then when she leaves clues behind for Quentin, he does try, you know, and he has to work really hard. But he is able to sort of string together the clues in the way that she intended.
With the whole Mississippi thing, she ends up in New York. There was probably the big transition there. But if you're gonna... It didn't seem like at the start she knew where she was gonna go. She just thought she was gonna go like up to Mississippi, they'd find her there, but eventually...
Well, that's a separate trip though. Like she went to Mississippi for that trip where she was only gone like 3 days. And then she came back, and then... So that's like, I think, as I recall, that's told in the flashback toward the beginning of the book. But no, she knew from the time she was leaving that she was going to New York. And it's a pretty straight line. The sort of the surprise to Quentin is that she stays there. There's a great story a friend of my grandmother's used to tell, though, which is that she graduated from this all-women's college. And she and her 3 closest friends decided that they were not going to wear anything under their robes to graduation because it was southern Mississippi. It was extremely hot. It was, you know, the height of June, and that's how they were going to get through.
A heavy robe.
Yeah, that's how they were going to get through these miserable hours at this, right? So they go and they graduate and everything goes perfectly. You know, they got their diplomas, they shook the hands, and then everyone's lining up after graduation. And they don't know what the heck everyone's lining up for, but they just stand in the line like everyone else. And then they're looking up and they're seeing that as each person walks past, they have to take off their graduation gown, fold it up, and give it to the person, this woman, right? So they're like 30 people back. And they realize that they're in a very difficult position because obviously they can't take off the graduation robes. On the other hand, everyone has to turn in their graduation robes. So they just bolt. It's just like panicked running. Yeah, I think that's a pretty good story. So I didn't put that in the book because I felt like I didn't want to steal from my grandmother's friend. But.
Yeah, and then the way that you left it open at the end, were you like planning a sequel for it?
No. I don't write sequels. That would be too nice of me. No, I just believe that that's how things end. You know, I mean, I think everything.
Open and.
I think everything ends ambiguously. You know, everything ends open. Like, you know, when you like someone. And all right, well, let's distill it to its purest sense. Like, let's say you meet someone. And you like them, and you want to have a romantic relationship with them, and they agree to it, and then for a while you were in a relationship, and then they break up with you, or you break up with them, but probably they break up with you, and in my experience at least, they break up with you. Well, that's the end of the story, but it's also not the end of the story because you know, 10 years later, like that person finds you on Facebook, and they send you an email, and they say, oh, you know, I'm sorry I broke up with you, that was my bad, and you write them back, and maybe you go out again, or maybe, you know, you become good friends and your kids play together. Like, who, you know, the story is never over. And so I felt like leaving it a little bit. I've done this in all of my books. Leaving it a little bit open is a way of saying that, like, there is still a future ahead of us. You know, that like we don't have to we don't have to tie the knot on our lives tight in order to feel okay about life. Yeah, I mean, a lot of authors get really upset about fan fiction because they feel like they own the characters and they don't want other people like telling a story. Do you guys know what that is, by the way? It's like where you write a okay.
Yeah.
It's not like to people who aren't your age, no one knows what it is. But yeah,
Well, I do know what it is.
but like no, I'm saying if you're like to like 30-year-olds don't know what the words fan fiction means.
Well, it's kind of self-explanatory.
I guess it is, yeah. So a lot of people feel like, you know, they own the characters and they own the story, and other people don't have the right to go and steal their story or their characters. I think it's great. I you know, steal. Again, my corporate overlords might not like to hear me saying that, but I love when.
Fan response.
I love fan response. You know, I've gotten 6,000 emails about Paper Towns. Like, I love.
Do you actually read them all?
I read every single email. Yeah, every
It
single.
just takes a long
I don't think
time.
I'd be able to do that. I'd be like, read these for me. I can't do all of them.
Summarize them. No, I mean.
Read them for me. Put them all on one-page paper. I'll read for you.
Well, because I spent. I hated this book. It's usually, thank God, it's usually nice. It's usually nice.
We're gonna change it with big version torches.
No, it's usually pretty nice.
It's like, dear John Green, we're gonna chase your pictures and torches because we don't like your books. Signed, blank person.
No, I've never gotten that. No pitchforks
Actually,
yet.
there was supposedly an offer there. Did get one of those emails. And they're gonna
Oh,
chase him.
I've gotten emails that people were
being a monstrous writer.
people were mad at me for various things, but no, not usually. I do read them, and the reason I read them is because it's important to me, and I spent so long writing the book. There was so many days alone in the basement, thinking about you one day reading this book. You know, thinking about the fact that like I was trying really hard to make something that you would like and that would mean something to you, and so that we could have this conversation. And so to hear that we did have the conversation is so valuable to me. It's so wonderful that like I never get tired of reading about it. And particularly, you know, so often my readers are so smart and so thoughtful, and so you get to have, you know, amazing responses to the work that just kind of blow you away.